Give me a child until the age of 7, and I will give you the man.
Our series will take you on a journey of discovery, a journey that will help us unlock the mystery that is concealed within each child's development. A journey that reveals the critical role this development plays in the formation of man. Each adult has not always been a grown-up person. It was the child who constructed the adult personality. It is the child who makes the man, and no man exists who was not made by the child he once was. We know that the larvae of bees pass through a stage during which every female could become a queen, but the hive chooses only one. The workers prepare for her a special food known as bee bread. Fed on this royal diet, the chose larva becomes the queen bee of the community. If the worker bees had chosen her when she was a little older, she could not have become a queen, since she would have lost her fierce appetite, and her body could not have developed into that of a queen. Such an example should make us appreciate a crucial factor in the development of a child. There is within all children a vital impulse which leads the child to perform astonishing acts. Failure to follow up these impulses means that they become helpless and inept. Adults have no direct influence on these different stages. Dr. Maria Montessori, a surgeon in Italy in the early 1900s, and that country's first woman physician, has been observing children. In 1906, she gave up her medical practice and her University of Rome chair to work with a group of 60 young children of working parents in the San Lorenzo district of Rome. It was this first Casa dei Bambini, or Children's House, that ultimately became the Montessori philosophy of education. Montessori education has achieved worldwide recognition. The Montessori philosophy has been time-tested for more than 90 years and has achieved remarkable success with children throughout the world. Let us briefly discuss once again the many advantages that Montessori offers the child. In the scientifically prepared environment of the true Montessori school, the child develops the prime elements of character: freedom, concentration, independence, self-discipline, and a sense of reality. All this in an atmosphere of cooperation and trust. Each child is guided individually, and children work at their own pace and at their own level. The Montessori classroom offers a secure and ordered environment. This enables the child to be content and confident, because there is consistency in their social and physical surroundings. Habits and skills developed in a Montessori classroom remain for a lifetime. In a Montessori environment, education for 3 to 6-year-olds builds a positive foundation for the years to follow. While the education of 6 to 9-year-olds isn't a direct continuation of the first stage, it does build on that strong foundation. This is because these groups of children have now reached a new level of development. Before, they were interested in things, working with their hands, learning their names. Now, they are interested mainly in the how and why, the problem of cause and effect. The classroom of those of 3 to 6 is not rigidly separated from that of the children from 6 to 9. Children of 6 can get ideas from the class above. They are free to pass through to the other classrooms. In the primary years, there is no limit to the amount of knowledge children can absorb. And Montessori places all before them to satisfy their mental appetite. A fully developed child acquires a higher type of personality, is more socially alert, more capable of concentration, more socially adaptable, more independent, and at the same time more disciplined and obedient. In a word, a complete being, a ready foundation for the building of a normal adult. This is Dr. Montessori's great achievement, the discovery of the child. In a Montessori school, nobody is forcing the children to work. The children are not working for marks or fear of punishment, for these methods are not used. The self-discipline which reveals itself has not come into existence in a day or a week or even a month. It is the result of a long inner growth.
We made a job party site that is called the Realms of the Cosmos. The 7 realms. When I went to school, we had animals, plants, kingdom, fungi, protista maybe, but now there are 7. You have protista, fungi, viruses are now in here, the plants, the monera, fungi. And then, when I was doing that, I thought, hey, actually, most of the things in the cosmos are not living things. So we also put a realm of the inorganic stuff. So there are pictures here. On the back, if the children can first study on the back what it is all about. What sort of blood they have, what sort of covering, the skeleton, the reproduction, and the movement. So when it comes to the emus, it is the realm of the animals. The blood is warm, the covering is feathers, the skeleton is internal, reproduction by eggs, and movement by locomotion. And when it comes to inorganic, we have the movement is by cosmic force. The child can take a picture out of here, and then he has to decide whether it is organic or inorganic, and he turns this, or here, organic, and then he has to turn it to either one of those kingdoms. So a very small child can do that already. But I start with the basic concept of classification. The check is on every back of the... That is why it is such a big job. You have to research everything. It's enormous. This one is a little bit more complicated. See, here the first one is the yam, inorganic. But then if you have here stone, I'll take an organic one, it's easier, because if you have inorganic, you can say inorganic. The first one is the blood. Now the blood, if I put this here, then the blood is absent. We have a thing that says absent. You have the covering, and of course the covering is absent. The skeleton is absent. The reproduction is absent. And the movement. And the movement is by cosmic forces, we say. You know, because inorganic matter is moved by cosmic forces, by storm and by water. Cosmic forces. And so that is all on the line. This is a mole. Say for instance we found a mole and we put it here and we put this line here. It is obviously a metazoa. It has more than one cell. And I think it's a mammal. It's a chordata. It's a chordata because it has a backbone. So you turn that to be here, and then it's a vertebrate. So you turn that to vertebrate. But you can then turn all these, and there's knobs there, you can turn them all to form, so that you have the whole history of any animal. And I can remember that we asked the doctor once, I don't know what he was doctor at, to give a talk either at a course night or a parents' night, I don't remember. I think he might have been a doctor that came to the course night to tell about children's illnesses. And he wandered around the school first to have a good look at everything. When he saw this, he nearly fell over. He couldn't believe it. He said, for years and years and years, and when in my student times, and I had my whole wall with an animal tree. He said, and this is the solution. He said, because animals don't grow on trees. And he couldn't understand that. He had never thought of it. Nobody's ever thought of it.
Dinosaurs never go out of fashion, whether it'll be the habits or the timeline, what they eat, or how long, high, heavy they are. Or making dinosaurs out of clay. It is always fun. There seems to be an explosion into using the math apparatus. The concentration required, the understanding, the time needed to complete the task are all essential parts of the children developing themselves. Throughout the documentary series, we have observed children interacting with a variety of unique Montessori equipment. Mrs. Dyker will now explain to us how these devices speak directly to the curiosity of the children and how they lead the children step by step to self-mastery.
The pink tower consists of 10 cubes, and the sizes range from 1 cubic centimeter to 1 cubic decimeter. We say there are three-dimensional difference. The direct aim of the pink tower is to satisfy the need of the 3 to 6 year old for high mobility. By carrying each cube one at a time in one hand to the mat, the indirect memory of the hand muscles are trained because he indirectly and subconsciously remembers the different sizes. Fine motor movement is refined by building the tower, and the indirect preparation for the metric system as part of mathematics is obvious. Looking at this picture, the brown stairs are two-dimensionally different, and the other sizes that are the same as the pink tower. That means the pink tower can be built up next to the brown stairs to show the similarity. The same procedure that the child takes one part of the brown stairs at a time to his mat. When he has done that and he knows the procedure of both of them, they can combine the two to make some beautiful combinations. It is well known that children all like to do puzzles, and while an ordinary puzzle is usually only good for passing the time, Montessori made all the maps of the different continents and several of different countries, so that the children had actually an intelligent thing to do, putting all the countries. They take them all out, depending on the age of the child. The 3-year-old will only just take them out and back in again. 4-year-old will ask what are the names, and they learn the names of the countries. The knobs are all sitting at the place of the capital cities. And so later they compare them with atlases. They draw them on sheets of paper, and they write the names on the paper, they color them in. They are very knowledgeable in the end about geography because they all the different continents. Very interesting. And they have from sea to sea and the half ones in between. They are mainly to sharpen the child's sense of hearing. They're not meant to be a musical instrument, even if the children sometimes can start playing little tunes on them and compose little tunes. They do that too. They learn the notes, the names, they learn everything. There's in a box with all the things that you have in the music, the staffs and the crosses, or you call it the sharps and the flats. all the signs. They're very cleverly made because they are all exactly the same size. It's only the thickness that is different that causes the different sound.
Now we go to F. 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 Stop playing it again. Just continue on.
Roman arch obviously satisfies the building of blocks syndrome in little children. They love building, putting everything on top of one another. And the miracle of the arch makes a big impression on them because when they have built this arch, they can take away what holds it up. But there's a whole lot of little building blocks that they put on top of this arch, you see. Now we had a new little boy, I'm not sure whether he had turned 4, and he started to do the Roman arch. And when he had done the arch, he looked at it and he did not ever put any of the other blocks on top because that was all show. He didn't need to do that. I was interested when you see that, you know, because in some places people would probably say, oh, you haven't finished it. And we say the other way around. We say, hey, it is an intelligent child. It's easy, you don't have to do anything else. And it is Bethany. And that's a miracle that you can take that out and that stands there. And I think that is probably the idea that they experience that. Is doing the cylinder block. That means there are 10 cylinders there and they are in a series. I think this one is from big to small. He is shown how to pick them up by the knobs because with the 3 fingers there's an indirect preparation for holding of a pencil. The cylinder block itself is there to satisfy the child's need to always put things in and out holes. And then he judges obviously where they go, but he may have done it quite a while, often because he knows exactly where everything goes at the moment, so he's improving very fast. The little bars, 1 bar, 2 bars, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 10. And he has 2 of them, so he can make all the combinations from the little sums by taking one from one triangle and one from the other. But if we want to show the children the decimal system, we start with the beats, like you have a 1 beat, and then we add a 2, another one, and we count to 9, and we hold the 10 ones, and we say we put the number 10 there, but basically you're not allowed to have 10 units unless you bind them together. So we show him a 10 bar, and we ask them to count the beats on the 10 bar. So he sees there are 10, count from 1 to 10. Then we're going to count the tens. So we go 1 10, 2 10, 3 10, 4 10, till we get to 9 tens. And the tens we hang back a bit, and we say this is tens, but we don't allow 10 tens loose. We can only have 10 tens when they're joined together. So we show him the 100 square, and we count how many tens there are in this 100. We put 100 down and we count 100, 200, we add them until we have 900. And then the last 100 we say we can only put that there if we stick them all together. So we count that there are 10 then, and we change it into cube. And if you look at the long line that you saw, then that is actually the cube of 10. That means there are 1,000 beads there, and they're made into a chain that the child can see how long. So if you take 10 of the hundreds, you stack them up to have your little cube, you see.
The social and moral development of the children can also be seen in their interactions, not only inside the class, but also during sport. While disputes of course arise, children are able to negotiate with one another and find ways to organize themselves to resolve their problems and avoid them in the future.
There are many memories. Many, of course, locked way back in the back of my mind.
Would you share a few with
I
us?
certainly will. I think two of them come to mind to do with sport. Sport is a very important thing for the children. They really love it. And of course, if an argument should come about, the children have to solve this problem. We listen to them and ascertain whether they can manage it. And this we did. Lorraine and I were watching, and it was just about on lunchtime. And we indicated that these two children should sit and talk together about their problem and not come in to lunch until they were both happy.
Right.
This they did. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw this very angry little fellow and another little angry fellow, and I heard later that they sat down, backs to each other, arms folded in front of them, and they were, I think, determined not ever to speak to each other again. Anyway, we came in to lunch. It was about 10 minutes later. These two little fellows came in and they said, "We're going to be friends forever. Can we have lunch together?"
Oh, beautiful.
And you think, well, that's one way. As long as they know that you know
Yes.
there is a problem and you ascertain that they can manage it. And they did.
I like this.
Yes.
Tell us more.
Another soccer one. The girls and boys were playing soccer together. These children are 7, 8 and 9 years old. And the girls suddenly decided that they'd had enough. Every time they scored a goal or had a beautiful shot to one of their own people, they got a foul, according to the boys.
Oh.
And this wasn't on. And they said, "That's it. Can we play soccer ourselves?" I said, "Most certainly you can." And I said, "Have you got a ball?" "Yes." So they played their own game of soccer. And this was marvellous. And all of a sudden the boys realised that they were having a marvellous time. And individually these boys went over and said, "Can we play with you?" And gradually the whole team ended up over the other side playing with the girls, but this time under the rules, according to the girls.
Oh, that's wonderful, isn't it? Yes, yes.
Great. It's quite terrific. The other little incidents are where the children have such complete trust in your spoken word. And this happened one day when they respond to the tinkle of the bell.
Yes.
And I said to them, "Please all stand, put your chairs under your table and follow so-and-so out in that direction." And I pointed which direction they should go. They just all up and all moved, and I followed, And when we got out into the playground, they said, "What was that for?" I said, "That was a practice evacuation in case there should be a fire." I said, "I hope that you will do just exactly that if ever the occasion comes for it to be necessary."
What a beautiful way of dealing with it.
They just believe you. And like when they're playing soccer and it's inclement weather.
Yes.
I said to them before they go out, "I would be a very irresponsible person if I let you sit all day in wet clothing. And the only way we can solve this is if it should chance to rain, what do you do?"
Yes.
And they said, "Come in." And you think, "Oh yes, okay, that's fine, that's what they'll do." But you're standing there watching them, 3 drops of rain, and the whole group come in, and you think, they do trust you.
It happens, doesn't it?
But you have to build up a rapport with them, that you are honest and you are trustworthy to them.
Yes.
And you get this response.
Yes.
In the classroom, and this is many years ago because it was a time when the Ninja Turtles were
Oh yes, I remember.
the thing, the
Yes.
very, very in thing. And I couldn't stand these grossly horrid, they were horrid little, mannequins, yes, but still.
I share the feeling.
And the children said to me, "Do you like Leonardo?" I said, "Yes." I said, "He was the most marvellous man. He was a painter and an inventor and an artist." And I promptly went off to get the appropriate books. And they became very interested. Perspective started to come, history, geography, and they said, "What about Donatello? What about Michelangelo? Were they real too?"
Yes.
And of course it started a wonderful investigation into all these different things. And I was so thrilled that I got rid of the horrible turtles
Yes.
for a real
Yes.
real thing. There was another instance that my lesson on the Roman numerals was so successful, I almost felt I had to put a stop to it because it went on and on and on. And the children did it in number roll fashion, and the number roll is starting with 1 and writing underneath, and as it gets longer you roll it up. But with the Roman numerals, of course, you have these little extensions coming out a little bit further when you get to 338 and then 388.
Yes.
They're big long numbers.
Yeah.
And these children just kept going. 1,000. Can we do more? And of course, you get a real thrill when that happens. But Roman numerals seem to capture all the children the same way. It's just up to us to make that lesson as exciting for each new group that you...
Yes.
John's watch has disappeared.
Oh yeah.
And she asked, nobody could find it. And of course the next day when I came in, I looked in a spot. Lorraine had put it up there instead of up there where she normally put things.
Yes.
And of course
Yes,
it was not taken, the trust of themselves with each other too was...
Oh, that's great.
They are the joys and the rewards
Yes.
for having the children in this environment.
Children working on maths with their math. Others reading. And of course a chess game going on. Number rolls in progress. Drawing. Sewing. Timetables. Such a calm, almost soothing atmosphere in the room. Now we move into the 9 to 12's room. This room is another step in growing up, an increase in independence. The atmosphere in the class is spontaneous, joyful and purposeful. There is peace and freedom. The teacher is always in a listening state. No matter how occupied the teacher is with one individual child, she is alert to the others. She has eyes on the back of her head, as they say. It is always lovely to see the affection and care that is shown to the young ones by the older students when caring for them. These children are secure, content, and confident because there is consistency in their social and physical surroundings. They know where everything is. They know how to use it or how to ask. They know that they are in an environment that cares. If children do not reveal a desire to work spontaneously, the fault lies not in the child, but in the manner of presenting the subjects to be studied. Dr. Montessori believes that if children are bored, inattentive, and uncomprehending, it is because the method of teaching used presents overwhelming barriers to the spontaneous functioning of the child's mind. It is interesting to note that this view is in accord with Aristotle and the scholastics, who maintained as a principle that all hindrance being removed, a faculty must work, this being indeed the very evidence of its existence. As it is natural for the child's heart to beat without any hindrances, so too will the child's interest function spontaneously. Unlike the teacher in mainstream schools, the function of the directress or director in a Montessori classroom differs considerably in that she is not the focal point in the class. After presenting a lesson to the children, the directress stands back to allow repetition and consolidation, allowing them to perfect themselves through their own abilities. There is respect for the child's personality. The role of the directress is to observe. She is a subtle off-stage organizer. Her part is to maintain a low profile in the background, rather than holding center stage. As Dr. Montessori indicated, the young children who have been in an environment that satisfied their inner needs as they arose, rather than then conscious awareness, are able at an older age to fully satisfy their own conscious needs in a self-motivated, energetic way. Adolescence is a period of great physical upheaval, which is very exhausting for the bodies. And as a rule, study is not number one on the children's development program. Montessori allows the student to absorb information, spending as much time as needed to understand and master the concept, rather than the teacher continuing at the chalkboard or reading from a textbook. Each student is treated individually, so his or her needs are satisfied, then overlooked or labelled. Even at the adolescent level, we still need to stimulate interest in the activity. It often begins with the student asking a question that needs to be solved. By doing this, the student is aware of what has already been learned and what has yet to be understood. The student is then guided to the correct source of information, where he or she discovers the answer. This is Montessori education and true learning, as it is the individual making the choice and discovery.
That's enough. Now can we put it on the box?
That looks really sick.
Is that a chemical change or a physical change? How do you know it's a chemical change? Because you're not going to get it back. You're definitely not going to get it back. Thank you very much.
The young adolescent is not quite an adult, but is very close to it and is able to take a responsible role in work and society. By nature, a 15-year-old is ready to be an adult and naturally wants to be respected as such. This is where Montessori High School finds ways of putting the adolescent into situations where they can take responsibility and develop their own self-worth and individuality. They are not categorized as good or bad students. Montessori called this valorization of the person. It allows for the understanding of one's own strength and value in society. Adolescents need to feel that they are worthwhile and contributing to the function of their surroundings and society. When we deny them this most basic of freedom, we effectively block that person from the world in which we expect him to live. Montessori High School not only meets the academic needs of the adolescent, but also the developmental needs. Dr. Montessori described the child entering adolescence as the neonate, the newly born. At this third stage of development, the adolescent is consumed with doubts, hesitations, violent emotions, discouragement, and an unexpected decrease in intellectual capacity. Now is not the time to flood the individual with academic pressure, as they may be insecure in themselves and sensitive to criticism and ridicule. Montessori prepares the adolescent for life in society, armed with both the intellectual knowledge needed, and the social skills necessary to function within the world. The person leaving a Montessori high school is not going out into the society feeling debilitated, isolated, or humiliated, but rather with a sense of self and security. The first period of adolescence, that from the years from 12 to 15, resembles the first stage in childhood, that from birth to age 3, in that it is one of great transformation, both physical and mental. The advent of puberty marks the end of childhood, nature itself making it evident that a new stage of development has begun by the profound physical changes that take place. It would be a great mistake to assume as age increases, a child correspondingly grows stronger both in mind and body. To some extent, it is precisely the reverse. Dr. Montessori reminds us of that fact. That period of life in which physical maturity is reached is a dangerous and difficult time because of its rapid development and the changes which take place in the organism as a consequence. For the first time, children become clearly conscious of themselves. They become acutely sensitive to all forms of criticism and are quick to imagine are being ridiculed. They begin to be acutely conscious of differences in social status. Such matters as clothes, pocket money, and personal appearance become of great importance to them as they stand at the threshold of life's journey. As we continue the journey towards our destination, we discover the secrets that unfold. We discover the pearls in oysters, and we unlock the treasures hidden within the child. We reach into the adult. Be sure to join us for the next episode of Montessorian Inspiration, as you will be inspired.